Yo, 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 what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. Yes, we are back. It's been a minute. Sir G20 and Sir Mouse High.
It's
What's
really,
up, bro?
it's
What's
really,
good?
it's really good. It's really good.
You haven't been on in a minute. I think the audience needs an explanation.
Well, you know how it go. We are dealing with a pandemic in many ways, from delivery systems to just getting around and making up work and just making up different things and things opening up. So we've been in the midst of dealing with technical difficulties, dealing with this change of well, I guess a technology wave where before, when you used to be able to purchase something and own it, now everybody's doing
Yeah,
subscriptions, and so I've noticed the subscriptions have been
yeah,
messing up
yeah.
like all over the place for places that
Mm-hmm.
didn't necessarily start out doing subscriptions. So yeah, it's just been a little up and down with all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we're back now. We're getting everything back in order and things like that. As of what Mouse just said, technology, it's just it drives me bananas that certain things, if you don't do it this way, then it's always some sort of consequence or something or another. Like, it was definitely frustrating, many times that me and Miles over here try to bring you guys out, try to bring out, new recording for you guys, and just went left.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't know. It is, but at the moment we're working with what we got, so we're good. I think we're good.
Yeah,
But
it's looking good.
let's get on this whole. Oh man, I didn't like it when I started reading the article. Not not one bit whatsoever. The whole um, SEMA, EPA, the RPM Act. Okay, let's get this straight first. Okay, they've. I'm not saying just them, but just we've always been like targeted, if that makes sense.
Of course.
There's always somebody coming for us. And I'm like, why is it that big of a deal? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, okay, yeah, I get it. You have those people that are crazy, do crazy stuff, whatever the case is. But when it comes down to a certain amount of people that do it the right way, they're not crazy with it, and it's more love than anything. It's a hobby. It even furthers it more than a hobby. You know what I'm saying? Like, even you have people in all sorts of age groups that do this. And motorsports, period, goes a long way.
I I
Motorsports, it
I
can be involved bikes or boats, whatever, bro. Like,
I I agree. I agree on a large level, especially when you look at it's an industry, and it's not only us who are out here on the everyday streets who may be modifying vehicles. However, you have these big companies, like you may have GMC and Ford. They may make a street version of a vehicle and they may make a modified version of the vehicle. And it's even to the point where, some of these big companies now are even selling, you have a street version, you have a sport version. They're giving you the sport mode in the street version, and they're trying to do these things already factory built too. And I think part of it, I don't want to say part of it is trying to fight that market, and they want to control it. um
right,
but when you read the article, right, or when you read any article about it, the more that you read, you find that they are talking about, they're trying to make the play that they're fighting against vehicles who are doing things that affect the emissions, right?
Right.
And
Right.
that's the EPA's part, right? But the thing
Right.
about it is that when you keep reading on, then you see these parts where they are talking about going after manufacturers of aftermarket parts. So you
Mm-hmm.
go from just exhaust and things like that that may affect the emissions that come out to now you're doing aftermarket parts. So now you're doing a whole industry now of parts that people can be getting, because remember, these big car makers are losing a lot of money because people start to realize, oh, I don't have to go to the dealership and spend two and three times the amount for a part that I can go and get,
Right.
at a cheaper price, right?
Hmm. Right. Right. Right.
Yes.
That's what it is. I mean, the big thing is like, all right, understand. Let's call it for what it is. It's street racing, modifying, whatever. They're if it they're trying to stop everybody from modifying their cars from factory. Um, down to suspension, exhaust. This is like a long time thing, and they're. I mean, I'm not saying that it was forgotten, but this has been since back in the day. It's just like, and they keep coming. I'm like, yo, when are you guys gonna quit? And like, it's not. It's like you have other people out there that do all these kind of different hobbies or have different hobbies, and we can't enjoy ours. Like come on, like I feel that's just a little bit ridiculous. I get that. I do understand the fact that there are some people that are doing it, you know, just taking it out of control. I
Yeah,
get it.
I I think that on a very very serious note, what this shows me is that although it is a big part of the economic fabric of what not only in America but worldwide is a part of
Mhm.
what makes a lot of money, not only for the everyday man and woman and some of these companies that sell these aftermarket parts, but even for the system when we rent out stadiums and events to have these car shows and do things that are separate from these staples that have the big money behind them, right? And
Right.
when you look, I'm disheartened to know that SEMA is having a play in this, but how SEMA is what they're putting up on the table. Um I I feel like I'm torn in the mix that, I'm a father, and even though I want my children to enjoy this life and be in this life, I also have to look at the knuckleheads out there. And what's happening is that the people who are pure and true and doing things safely and legitimately, and when they're making these transformations, they're paying attention to emissions because this car has to get inspected and all these kind of things, right? um
Right.
I have to look at it like, yo, what really should be happening is that we should be mobilizing right now. The tuna community should be mobilizing and being able to say, hey, listen, I do agree with the fact that we need to have some rules because you have a lot of knuckleheads out here that's painting a bad picture, and they're doing a lot of things that they don't understand, and they're messing up the system and what have you. However,
Right.
there's a lot of us that have been doing this for years and doing it by the book and making sure that everything's legit, right? And we want to still be able to do that because it's not fair. It's really not fair to, whether you're a modifier, a tuner, or anything of that like, versus being a person who just needs to get an oil change, but you had to pay your mortgage, or you had to pay a couple bills the day before.
Right.
It affects a lot of people. It doesn't just affect tuners. It doesn't just affect people who modify vehicles and are turning street cars into racers. It doesn't just affect those people.
It affects way more than what they expect. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, but
It's a shame, really, to tell you the truth. It's a shame,
it's a money thing,
but
man. We gotta mobilize as a subculture. We have to mobilize. We don't like to deal with politics. We don't like to deal with certain things. You know, that's what the beauty of the subculture is. However, we got to be able to gain and get that respect, and that they know that we have people that are tuners, that are lawyers and doctors and police officers and firefighters,
right,
and
it's not just kids.
yeah, you know, it's
That's
not.
my problem. They feel like it's just like younger generation. It's not even about that. You have, like I said in the beginning, different age groups,
Hmm.
and the younger generation, for me, they're coming into it. They're fresh. They're learning, and okay. That's I think the focus should be on, say, more on the people that are acting out versus the people are that are actually doing it professionally,
Right,
as if, because all right, for example, I had a conversation with one of my guys. You know, Nas from Pride Performance, shout out to him. We had a conversation the other day, and he was telling me about, the meets that were going on and everything like that. And I said, hey, he's like, listen, you know, don't worry, come through, you know, bring whoever, you know what I'm saying? And we're not going to something that's not organized. Whereas when you do a professional meet, it's about renting wherever it is, whether it's a indoor parking lot or outdoor parking lot, whichever.
right,
There's a permit that goes with that. They know that you're gonna be there. You know what I'm saying? And then they have um, police around with, to direct traffic at times.
right,
You know what I'm saying? That's well done. That's well organized. Not one of these meets where I just call you up and say, hey, we're gonna meet here, and it's word of mouth and everybody just meets there, and then, which I've been to several of those, but me going is not knowing that it wasn't organized, where, cops came, they shut it down, everybody's acting out of order, they're, doing all kinds of spins in the tires and not act. It's bananas. I rather, like, listen, everybody has a home to go to at the end of the day after the fun, and we all want to go to the meet safely, enjoy ourselves, and go home safely. You know what I'm saying? There's no, I mean, okay, fine, you'll get your one or two things that guys act out or whatever. But we know this is why in a lot of meets that post up on social media, they tell you, respect where you are.
right,
You know what I'm saying? Like, even with the whole COVID thing, respect your people, your peers around you, wear a mask. We have 4 or 5 different events coming up, and they all say the same thing: respect your peers, do this, do that. You know what I'm saying? We can only allow certain amount of people in. There was a meet that went on a couple of no, actually I think it was last week, and they shut it down early, saying that it was packed. And when you see from a bird's eye view, it wasn't really packed. And they compared it to people walking in the mall, and people being in the mall is gonna be just as just as crowded.
right,
Everybody's in the stores now with masks, and it's crowded.
right,
So this is what I'm saying. It's just about organizing a meet, being mindful, especially with what's going on with the EPA. You have to have to be mindful of these things. You can't just, you know what? F that, we're gonna do it anyway. And then what happens?
See, these a lot of these young boys got a little taste of what was when they were young and just coming up, or really, really small and just coming up, and even being able to see some of the footage or hear the stories. And I um I was listening to Nipsey Hussle on an interview, and he was talking
Mm-hmm.
about, literally he was talking about gang banging, and he was just explaining what, when he was coming up, you had the elders who were doing certain things and moving a certain way, and things you just knew about in the neighborhood, and there was
Right.
no social media. So there wasn't like
Right.
this thing went down and somebody recorded it, so you had this footage, especially when you were doing things that you weren't supposed to be doing according to the law, right? And
Mm-hmm.
when you look at what's going on now with this kind of stuff, it's very similar in the way that before, when they didn't have these NYPD street cameras up for where we are in the East Coast, before they
Mm-hmm.
had
Mm-hmm.
the speed cameras and the red light cameras so populated in all these states, um before they just had a lot of different things. I mean, there's more people around, there's more people getting in different accidents, and these records that are being recorded every time it happens is the cause and effect. And so this is where we come back
Mm-hmm.
again to the culture mobilizing. I'll give you a perfect example. I remember when I was coming up and I first was getting very, very interested in joining an auto club. And
Right.
when I started to do the research in the auto clubs, anybody who's truly done this research, you end up in one place, and you end up in the motorcycle clubs, because before auto clubs, there were motorcycle clubs. The first set of clubs when it came down to vehicles were motorcycle clubs. And
Yeah, that's right.
part of that was left over from the war, right? And the soldiers and the
Right.
vets that came back, right? And they started to form these
Exactly.
motorcycle crews and stuff like that. But as we move forward, it got to a point where the motorcycle crews or the motorcycle clubs were known to be these vets that ended up being classed as rebels because they were angry at their government and the system that didn't do what they were supposed to do when they came back from the war, right? And anybody who disbelieves what I'm saying, please go and look up motorcycle clubs, go and look up auto clubs. This is history. This is fact. I'm not going to say everything I'm saying is 100% to the key, but please do your research and check it out. And feel free to correct anything that may be said here that may be off, because we're not above reproach. We want to make sure that the good information and the correct information gets out there to the public. So
Yep. For sure.
when you watch what started to happen, these vets were starting to let these people know, like, nah, we against the system, but we're not the rebels to which you think we are, but we're revolting against the system. And it forced auto clubs to have to make their representation known again on a different level, so that there was a certain amount of respect, so that the more people started to have respect and understanding for what motorcycle clubs were. And the same way with auto clubs and social clubs and things of that nature. Um, there's a lot of times where people were fighting because it was a subculture that not everybody understood, whether it be the way we spoke, the way we drove, the way we liked loud cars, or cars that were flashy and looked a certain way. And we got to a point that we mobilized and organized, and it went from it just being a group of guys paying dues to kind of maintain a clubhouse and maintain their passion, their love, to where it's a full-fledged business. I mean, a lot of people can be wearing, random people across the world can be wearing a club's shirt with their logo on it as a support, because it's merchandise now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's the same way within this realm. Like, we have to look at the realities of it. We want the emissions to always mesh. So what we need aftermarket parts that are emission qualified 100%. So we need to put a tighter chokehold on those aftermarket parts to make better aftermarket parts, right? We also need to teach and engage the young ones coming up in the game. Yo, y'all want a street race? This is how we got to do it. Y'all want to modify? This is how we got to do it, right? So that we can strike a balance. We don't want I don't listen. As much as I like speed, how can you speed down a block that the speed limit is 25 miles per hour and you getting from corner to corner and you're not testing your car out, you're driving. You know,
Yeah,
every
you just drive.
every stop sign when you pull off, you're gonna try to hit 40, right? Just to get to another stop sign just down the road. That's not even, gas sensitive or gas sensible, I should say.
All right. Just to note on what you said. I mean, I've done it. Only reason why I've done it is because, all right, lately my project car has been sitting, and because of my personal life, work and family and such, like I don't, I don't get time to really drive it. So literally, I think Friday night I got to, drive it, and I was comparing it to my work car. Now my work car is a 2001 Honda Accord Coupe V6, and I've this is my first time actually even driving that type of Accord, and it's a fun car. Don't get me wrong, but and I was comparing it to my G20, and I was like, yeah, this is faster, or whatever. But here it is now that I'm driving down the road with the G20 after coming out of the Accord, and I'm like, you know what? Nah. I mean, hint the fact that G20 is modified, so you can't really compare modified to stock
Right.
because it's driving stock, and it's fast. But my G20 is fast because it's modified.
Right.
So nonetheless, the G20 is not going anywhere. It's written, but I'm definitely I'm guilty for what you said from stop sign to stop sign only because it's a for me it's not about wilding out. It's more about testing it after being worked on or not driving it for a while.
Well,
But
I, I feel like on that note, right, we gotta have like with these regulations, as the term is correctly coined. It's a thing where people hear the word regulation and they think everything's a holdback or they're not allowed to be as free as they want to be or take things to a level that they want to take it. But when we look at regulations just help us to have a better, more efficient and successful situation, if you will, because it could be an event, it could be a run, it could be a test, it could be all these kind of things. um, but when we look at regulating things, whereas like I know out here, I think it's every Sunday, pre-pandemic, where the enthusiasts who build their planes, who build model airplanes that actually fly, they go out by the airfield, the old airfield, and they get to fly their planes. And they open out the space
right,
where people are working on their planes and they're flying them and they're doing all these kind of things, right? And so,
right,
for
right,
like when you look at this subculture right there, they can go and fly a plane. They can fly a plane in their neighborhood and stuff like that. But then you gotta look at the trees. You gotta look at all these different things that not only will damage their plane, but can have a negative effect on other people's property. Something falling on somebody's car, a piece of a plane falling on somebody, um, just all these different things. And so when you look at them having the ability to have a space, right? And regulating that it's not just cool to fly your big model, warplane anywhere in the city. That's helped them to get a space that supports what they do and allows them to do it on that space. And so, when we look at communities, when we look at, we got these different changes in generations, right? Where, a grandfather, a father, and a son are all into vehicles, right? Line of mechanics or something like that, line of people who modify. And there's this thing of each generation has to be able to teach the next generation as the times are going, where it comes down to laws and regulations and the system, to be able to see where, how can we do what we love to do safely so that the system doesn't try to step in? Because that's the biggest thing, man. We So many subcultures get this free run of not having the system step in, right? And having the system on the outside, like, okay, well, we're watching you. And we get these small pinches where people are getting arrested and they're harassing us because of the sound, because of how beautiful the vehicle looks, and all these kind of things. And there's a point where they can't mess with us because we're doing everything within the legal limit, right? You think
Right.
you think about
Right.
aftermarket parts and how aftermarket parts didn't have this moniker of street legal, right? New York state legal, California state legal. And then there was such a pressure on these illegal parts that were causing people to get tickets and all these different things that they had to start making parts that were street legal, but that were modifications. So whether it was a decibel, a noise decibel that it had to be under, they capped it, right? They kept it just under the noise decibel, but loud enough for that modification to be heard, right, or to be seen. And so
Right.
I think that's what it is. We've enjoyed a long run of the system not really having too much of a leg to stand on or being able to push and fight too hard, and we got comfortable, and then the young people who are taking it to another level, they haven't learned better.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that goes in the same note as the RC drifting.
Mm-hmm.
They find an area where they can set up a track. Of course, it's everything is legal. Uh, they rent out the space in order to make it happen. And this I got into RC drifting maybe I'm gonna say like 5 6 years ago,
Mm.
and just to know that the crowd is just as much as being into motorsports and tuning. It's the same sort of crowd.
Right.
Championships, all kinds of awards and things. It's an actual hobby that they made out for. It's a good thing. So would I be surprised if they tried to say something about that? No, I wouldn't. But that goes for the list of being caught up for something that's like minor. I call it minor. Other people may not see it that way, but it's a minor thing. You know what I'm saying? And it's like people are just out there instead of being cooped up in their homes, working a 9 to 5, so to speak. People have hobbies. It's like playing basketball, baseball, football, same thing. It's like we organize, we go to the park, we play basketball, go to some sort of a field, and we play flag football, touch football, whatever it is. It's the same concept. You're gonna have your bad apple everywhere you go, but you can't just you can't just get rid of the whole thing just because of that bad apple.
Well, this
You
is
know what I'm
this
saying?
is this is why, those listening to the podcast, like, you guys gotta, things like this got to be taken seriously, because these are the kind of things that they'll pass a bill under your nose because nobody fought for it, or nobody
Exactly.
fought against it. You know what I mean? So
Exactly.
it's a thing where, those who have clubs and organizations that believe that we should have the right, everybody has the free God-given right to take a property that they own and modify it within the safety and the safe legal limits. So, again, one of the biggest things they're pushing is the emission. They're using that as a catalyst to get
Mhm.
people on board,
Mhm.
right? And then they're going to
Mhm.
go
Mhm.
down the list and they're going to talk about the noise and they're going to talk about the speed and all these kind of things.
Of
And
course. Of course.
the community, the culture has to be able to identify where we do need to tighten things up, because we do need to tighten things up, man. I mean, we got to take a certain amount of responsibility in the matter to be able to call the right thing so we don't lose an entire thing, you know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, I mean, we just gotta, I think that everybody really needs to look into this thing, read up on it, follow it, and whether themselves get any opportunity to start something, to speak up on something, or they find a petition they can sign to do
Oh,
it.
the petition is actually out. The petition is already out. I signed it the other day. To get this thing up and moving. Like, yo, let everybody get in, sign the petition, Google it online. It's there. It's there. It doesn't even take 10 minutes to even fill out the petition. Let's get it filled out and let's stop this nonsense. It's like, because this is ridiculous. I mean, they're taking away, you know, some people, this is all they got. So I'm telling you, there's people out there that this is all they got. You know what I'm saying? They eat, sleep, all that. They eat, sleep, breathe all the hobby. It's like there's a level to everybody's life, why they do it, or where they're trying to go with it, and things like that. It's like that's just what it is. I mean, at the end of the day, we love it that bad. We gotta hold on to it. We gotta save it. You know what I'm saying?
It's very true. If
And
you love it, you gotta save it. Damn true.
you know, well, folks, on that note, we're gonna come to a close. Um, like we said in the beginning, we're back. We're sorry for the long delay, and everything's up and running. So we bid you guys adieu, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, yeah. Be safe. Be easy.
All that. Stay tuned. Later, y'all.